Registration of Independent School. Part 4, Independent Schools. 25. 1. The Minister shall appoint an officer of the Ministry of Education to be the Registrar of Independent Schools. In this act referred to as the Registrar, and shall furnish him with a certificate of appointment. 2. The Registrar shall keep a register, to be known as the Register of Independent Schools, and such register shall be open to public inspection at all reasonable times. 3. Whenever the Registrar is satisfied that there is any error in the Register of Independent Schools, or any omission therefrom, he shall forthwith rectify the error or omission. 4. Subject to the provisions of subsection 5, the Registrar shall provisionally register in the Register of Independent Schools any independent school for the registration of which the proprietor thereof makes application in the prescribed manner and furnishes the prescribed particulars. 5. No application under subsection 4 may be made in respect of an independent school where, pursuant to the provisions of this part, the proprietor is disqualified from being the proprietor of an independent school, or the school premises are disqualified from being used as a school, or if the school premises are used or proposed to be used for any purpose for which they are disqualified by virtue of the provisions of this part. 6. The Registrar shall, as soon as may be after an independent school has been provisionally registered, cause the schools to be inspected and thereafter refer to the Independent Schools Committee. A. The application for registration. B. The particulars furnished. C. The inspection report. In relation to the school, for the recommendations of the Independent Schools Committee as to whether the school should or should not be registered under this Act. 7. The Registrar shall, upon receipt of the recommendations of the Independent Schools Committee, A. Register the school finally in the Register of Independent Schools and give notice to the proprietor that the school has been registered, or B. If the Independent Schools Committee is of opinion that the school is objectionable upon all or any of the grounds specified in subsection 1 of Section 27, serve upon the proprietor a notice of complaint under that section. 8. If after the expiration of 6 months from the 1st of September, 1973 any person B. conducts an independent school, whether established before or after the 1st of September, 1973, which is not a registered school, or a provisionally registered school, or a school in respect of which an application has been made to the Registrar for provisional registration, or V. being the proprietor of an independent school does any act calculated to lead to the belief that the school is a registered school while it is a provisionally registered school, he shall be guilty of an offence against this section and shall be liable on summary conviction before a resident magistrate. In the case of a first conviction, to a fine not exceeding $40, and in the case of a second or subsequent conviction, to a fine not exceeding $100 or to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 3 months or to both such fine and such imprisonment. Independent Schools Committee. 26. 1. There is hereby established an Independent Schools Committee whose duties shall be A. To consider applications for registration of independent schools referred to the committee by the Registrar. B. To deal with representations made to the committee in respect of notices of complaint served under Section 27 and disqualifications arising therefrom, and to make recommendations and give direction as the case may require to the Registrar in relation to such applications and representations. 2. The provisions of the third schedule shall have effect as to the constitution of the Independent Schools Committee, and otherwise in relation thereto. Notice of complaint. 27. 1. If at any time the registrar is satisfied that any registered or provisionally registered school is objectionable upon all or any of the following ground. A. That the school premises, or any part thereof, are unsuitable for use as a school. B. That the accommodation provided at the school premises is inadequate or unsuitable having regard to the number, ages and sex of the students attending the school. C. That efficient or suitable instruction is not being provided at the school having regard to the ages and sex of the students attending the school. D. That the proprietor of the school or any teacher employed therein is not a proper person to be the proprietor of an independent school or to be a teacher in any school, as the case may be. The registrar shall serve up upon the proprietor of the school a notice of complaint stating the grounds of complaint, together with full particulars of the matters complained of, and unless any of such matters are stated in the notice to be in the opinion of the registrar irremediable, the notice shall specify the measures necessary in the opinion of the registrar to remedy the matters complained of, and shall specify the time, not being less than 6 months after the service of the notice, within which such measures are thereby required to be taken. 2. If it is alleged by any notice of complaint served under this section that any person employed as a teacher at the school is not a proper person to be a teacher in any school, that person shall be named in the notice, and the particulars contained in the notice shall specify the grounds of the allegation, and a copy of the notice shall be served upon him. 3. Every notice of complaint served under this section and every copy of such notice so served shall limit the time, not being less than 1 month after the service of the notice or copy, within which representations in respect of the complaint may be made to the Independent Schools Committee under the provisions of Section 28. Determination of complaints. 28. 1. Any person upon whom a notice of complaint or a copy of such notice is served under Section the 27th of May, within the time limited in that behalf by the notice, make representations in respect of the complaint to the Independent Schools Committee in the prescribed manner. 2. The Independent Schools Committee shall, as soon as may be after representations in respect of any complaint are made to it, afford all parties concerned an opportunity of being heard, and after considering such evidence as may be tendered by them or on their behalf, may direct the registrar A. To withdraw the complaint, but without prejudice to the duty of the registrar to serve a further notice of complaint under Section 27 if at any time he is of opinion that having regard to any change of circumstances he ought to do so, or B. To notify the proprietor of the school in respect of which the notice of complaint was served that the school will be struck off the register of independent schools on the specified date, or C. To notify the proprietor of the school in respect of which the notice of complaint was served that the school will be struck off the register of independent schools on the specified date unless the requirements of the notice of complaint, subject to such modifications, if any, as may be specified by the committee are complied with to the satisfaction of the registrar before the specified date, or D. If the school premises or any part thereof are unsuitable for use as a school to notify the proprietor that such premises or part are disqualified from being so used after the specified date, or E. If the accommodation provided at the school premises is inadequate or unsuitable having regard to the number, ages and sex of the students attending the school, to notify the proprietor that the premises are disqualified from being used on and after the specified date as a school for students of such age or sex, or exceeding such number, as may be specified in the notification. F. If the proprietor of the school or any teacher employed therein is not a proper person to be the proprietor of an independent school, or to be a teacher in any school, as the case may be, to notify the proprietor that on and after the specified date that person is disqualified from being the proprietor of any independent school or from being a teacher in any school. 3. The Independent Schools Committee shall, in directing the registrar to notify the proprietor of an independent school of any disqualification or any intention to strike the school off the register of independent schools, specify the date, which shall not be earlier than 6 weeks from the date of the direction, from or on which the disqualification or striking off is to have effect, and such date shall, in relation to that disqualification or striking off, be the specified date for the purposes of this part. 4. Where the registrar is directed under subsection 2, to notify the proprietor of an independent school of any disqualification or any intention to strike the school off the register of independent schools, the registrar shall comply with the direction by serving forthwith upon such proprietor a notification in writing containing the particulars, including the specified date, given in the direction. 5. If the registrar is directed to notify the proprietor of an independent school that any person employed as a teacher at the school is disqualified from being a teacher in any school, a copy of the notification shall be served on that person. 6. Where the person upon whom a notice of complaint or a copy of such notice is served under Section 27 does not, within the time limited in that behalf by the notice, make representations in respect of the complaint to the Independent Schools Committee, the registrar shall request the committee to give him directions, and the committee may, upon consideration of such information as it may require from the registrar, give him any direction which it would have power to give if representations in respect of the complaint had been so made. 7. Where any person is disqualified under this section either from being the proprietor of an independent school or from being a teacher in any school, then, unless the Independent Schools Committee otherwise directs, that person shall be deemed to be disqualified both from being the proprietor of an independent school and from being a teacher in any school. Appeal to Minister. 29. 1. The registrar or any person aggrieved by any direction of the Independent Schools Committee under subsection 2 of Section 28 may within 21 days after notification of that direction has been served on him appeal to the Minister in such manner as may be prescribed. 2. At the hearing of an appeal the Minister may a. dismiss the appeal and confirm the directions of the Independent Schools Committee, or b. allow the appeal and set aside the directions of the Independent Schools Committee, or c. set aside the directions of the Independent Schools Committee and give in substitution therefor such other directions as he may think proper. 3. Where notice of appeal is duly given within the period prescribed by subsection 1. A. The withdrawal of complaint, or b. the striking of any school off the register of independent schools, or c. any disqualification, which would be the result of the direction in respect of which such notice of appeal is given shall await the determination or abandonment of the appeal. Enforcement. 31. Subject to the provisions of Section 29, where a notification has been served in accordance with Section 28, the registrar shall, on the specified date, a. if the notification specified any intention to strike a school off the register of independent schools, so strike off the school, unless any requirements specified in the notification were complied with to his satisfaction before the specified date. b. If the notification specified any disqualification, record in the Register of Independent Schools a memorandum of that disqualification. 2. Any person who a. uses any premises for any purposes for which it is disqualified, or b. acts as the proprietor of an independent school or accepts or endeavors to obtain employment as a teacher in any school while he is disqualified from being a teacher in any school, shall be guilty of an offence and shall be liable on summary conviction before a resident magistrate, in the case of a first conviction, to a fine not exceeding $40, and in the case of a second or subsequent conviction, to a fine not exceeding $100 or to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 3 months or to both such fine and such imprisonment. 3. A prosecution for an offense under this section shall not be instituted without the sanction of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Removal of disqualification. 31. 1. Where pursuant to the provisions of this part any school is struck off the register of independent schools or any disqualification is imposed, any person may make representations to the Independent Schools Committee that by reason of any change of circumstances set out in the representations the name of the school ought to be restored to the register of independent schools or the disqualification ought to be removed, as the case may require, and the committee shall consider such representations and give to the registrar such directions as it considers just. 2. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the Independent Schools Committee may appeal to the minister in the manner and within the time specified in section 29, and subsection 2, of that section shall have effect in relation to such appeal.